Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your January 2017 first half of the month general tarot reading. So this is the period going up until about the 15th of January, and this is going to cover any area that seems to come up. And I'm also going to be pulling a card from this new deck that I got called the Keepers of the Light. I don't know if other readers have ever done this. I just happened to see it on Amazon, and I loved the colors. I loved the pictures that I could see, at least that picture. Okay. I've been picking this card over and over again. Speaking of cards I've been picking over and over again. Okay, so maybe I'll pick the oracle card right now, and then we can compare it to the tarot and see if it is kind of a continuation of the theme. This is the back of the cards in case you're interested. I always like to see the back of the cards. Oh, I picked two cards. Well, I'm going to pick both of them. One of them, well, I'll just, these are the two cards that I picked. Aren't these colors beautiful? I'll put these to the side. Okay. So, the overall theme for the first half of the new year is the Two of Swords. So there seems to be some kind of dilemma, some kind of choice that needs to be made. In some cases, people are at peace with what has transpired maybe in the past. I do sense that for some of you there may be and I was going to just say Gemini person because that's the opposite sign of Sagittarius, but the other air signs, it could be a Libra or an Aquarius, who is that you're choosing from. Maybe you're with that person. Maybe you're married to that person. Because that Six of Cups is a card of the past, of like childhood sweethearts, high school sweethearts. And because, I wonder if it's this Mercury retrograde that everybody's going to start having some kind of reunions, and that's going to bring up a lot of conflict between the old and the new. Sometimes the Six of Cups can indicate just kind of nostalgia for the past. It could even be with the person that you're with. Maybe you long for the good old days when your relationship was healthier. We did have a full moon in Gemini that occurred on the 13th. And so that could certainly have brought up relationship issues because that hits the 7th house for Sagittarius, the opposite sign. And that you might have found out something about a Gemini or any partner. And that might have been, when you discovered that somebody was cheating or that they were hiding something from you. And so for some people, it can even mean a deepening of affection. So it could actually mean that maybe you were going along and you decided to make that relationship into something that's committed, you know, like getting engaged, getting married, but definitely maybe moving in or something like that. But there's like a dilemma. So it can be on that personal level. There's always a possibility that some of you are dealing with this in a job situation. It's interesting because I don't know if any of you are lawyers in the legal profession. The Knight of Swords can relate to that. And maybe you have always wanted to do something creative, and that's represented by the Six of Cups. And when I say always, I mean since you were a child, you harbored this vision of yourself in a totally different way than your career turned out. And now you're kind of revisiting that. Now the higher message is the Ten of Wands. This is a card of struggle, okay? And it's a career struggle. This is about taking on more than is your responsibility. And who could be making you do this? Well, I mean, your place of employment. The first words that came into my mind were that life is not supposed to be a struggle. And some people do believe that it is, that if it comes too easily, it's not to be trusted. It's something that is not worthwhile. And actually, people have that upside down. When something feels like a struggle, there's a very good chance that you're out of alignment with it and it's not really for you. It's somebody else's dream that you're living for whatever reason. And that's something that you always have to consider when you have a desire, an ambition. Is this my ambition? Is this my parents' ambition? You know, am I living somebody else's life and I don't even know it? And that's why I'm so confused. But definitely it's a card of somebody that's close to burnout. Someone wrote to me, actually a couple of people wrote to me today and said, whatever it is that I had said in one of these general readings, and said, well, that's not true. I'm not married. And I kind of, came up with a smart aleck response, like, oh, you mean not every of the 500 million Aquarians in the world is married? It's like I'm totally shocked. These are general readings. So some of these cards, maybe you're not overworked. Maybe you're unemployed. And you're like, boy, is she off. Obviously, I cannot necessarily pick every card and have it apply to you. I do get people that it seems to be that way. But I've had the same thing with other readers that I watch on YouTube. Sometimes it's like, oh my God, it's so scarily close to what's happening. Sometimes it's totally off. The point is to find common ground because, even within some of the cards not really working for you, some of them might, and that may give you a sense of your particular dilemma or situation and what to do about it. And that's all it takes, is that one card that kind of is like your sign from the universe to do this or to do that. But this is the higher message position for the Ten of Wands. So it could be saying that this is a pattern that you have. Now, being a fellow Sagittarian, I actually think that a lot of us are afraid of assuming responsibility. The person who is the Ten of Wands is somebody who always takes on what doesn't belong to them. So I think that this is most appropriate if you're somebody who may have either a moon rising sign in Capricorn. Virgo is another sign that tends to be codependent, or to, and even Libra sometimes because of issues with saying no, I can't do that. I don't have the energy, or it's not fair. I shouldn't have to do that. So if you have a prominent Libra or Capricorn or Virgo, that this may be more in alignment for you. For other people, it could simply mean that you don't really have it within you to make a good decision because you are working so hard. So if you are, if there's something that you need to do, and by the way, if the Two of Swords is related to a dilemma like a job offer or something along those lines, then the Ten of Wands is saying that you may be kind of like tempted to stay where you are because you're very busy and you have a lot of work. You may not like what you're doing, but it's there. And you're afraid that this other thing is not going to be as successful. What crosses you is the Hierophant card. This is a card that's connected to Taurus, so any problematic Taurians in your life, that could be speaking about them. But it also can be, because I'm reading it in the reverse position, it could be that you're being too much of a conformist. The Hierophant card is about tradition. But in the reverse position, it's like, excessive conformity. And that's a form of cowardice sometimes, because you don't want to stand out. You don't want to be different. Especially if you are in a group, whether it's a family or a culture or, and when I say culture, it doesn't have to be ethnicity. It could be like in your hood, your neighborhood, your area, where there tends to be a concentration of like-minded people. If this is different than what they would do, then that can make it harder. But it could be your circle of friends. Let's say that you want to drop out of the rat race and you just want to, maybe you have a McMansion and you want to downsize. Maybe you're into minimalist living. I'm just kind of like going through some of my fantasies. But I don't have a McMansion, so that kind of like scratches that one. But, maybe you're living at a level that doesn't serve you anymore. And it seems like it's elevated, but it's really kind of this facade. And it's not you. And so, but you're afraid. Like, what would people think if I did this? Would they think I was lazy if I said, you know what, I'm just going to take time off. I'm just going to travel, or I'm just going to, do some soul searching. It's really, it really boils down to whose life is it anyway? Isn't that a movie? It's amazing how much we care. Well, I shouldn't say we, because I really don't, but a lot of people care about the opinions of other people. And it's like your life is so brief when you really get down to it. And, you're here as an individual for a reason, So that's why it's important to be yourself, because other people can get inspired by who you are. There's always someone, and I noticed this from having a YouTube channel, there's always going to be people, there are always going to be people who resonate with what you're about. And then there are other people and they have their own following, or they have their own, there's people that I am really interested in that maybe are not the biggest YouTubers on the planet, but I find them very fascinating, and I find that their knowledge, their information quite valuable. And I'm sure that many of you are the same way. And it doesn't have to be the biggest channel, because that can be the kind of the mainstream, the masses. Sometimes we like things that are different than the masses. And so it's important to have that sense of self, that you can kind of go after things that appeal to you, and maybe only you, And that is where your freedom lies, when you live a life of authenticity. The Hierophant card in a challenge position may be that you haven't been kind of acknowledging that part of you. That's like the Sagittarius, the 9th house type of thing, where it's talking about the higher education and higher mind and the philosophy, religion. Some people get bogged down. It's like this is being bogged down in just like the day-to-day, staying alive, or, actually the stuff with work, and that's one of the reasons why people want to get away from that, because they feel like it just consumes too much of their time. And then by the time, they realize that, they're practically at the end of their lives. So if you want to live authentically, you have to be aware of your life, and you can't just be so overworked that you're totally just on automatic, and you're just like getting up, going to work, and that's it. And then you're so exhausted when you get home. That is not a life. And that is kind of been the setup. And then, of course, you have advertising telling you need these things, and that cuts into the money and all that stuff. So it's all together, and it's like some of you may be not listening to that inner voice. And actually, this is not like the Hermit card. The Hierophant is more of a traditional. Now, as I say, this is in the challenge position, so it could be that you're just not heeding any kind of wisdom. You're just going on automatic for whatever reason. Maybe there's excessive materialism instead of like, and for Sag, that's not the norm, because usually we are very philosophical. But, any sign can get sidetracked because they think they want this certain, this certain job position, or they think they want this certain income level. And, it's like it's always climbing up this mountain, but you never arrive. So, yeah, it's just something to think about. In personal relationships, it can be something similar. That, in personal relationships, this card would actually be that it's one-sided, that you're doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the relationship. And I get that card a lot, and I think people know exactly what I'm talking about. Where one person is really kind of keeping that relationship alive. If they didn't do so, the relationship would probably flounder. But they're afraid not to do it because they know that that's the truth. They know they're propping up the relationship. And sometimes it's really important to surrender, because then you find out what the truth actually is. And even though it may hurt, it's better than just keeping this lie alive if it's not really what it's supposed to be. The advice is the Four of Pentacles. This is about wise money management. This may mean that you need to kind of keep tabs on your finances. Sometimes Sages are very free spending, ruled by Jupiter, very expansive, very, about money. There's more with where that came from, which can be a very good attitude. However, sometimes, especially if you are in the horns of a dilemma in terms of like, what should I do? Should I quit this job and do the love of my life, which is, being an artist? Can I make it? Well, if you manage your money properly, you will have a better chance of doing it. And it's also about laying a foundation. The number 4 relates to that. So you may stay where you are temporarily because it does provide a nice income. And then you'll be able to eventually leave and not have to worry about paying your bills while you're getting your thing off the ground. The outcome is the Page of Cups. This is a card of the artist, but also very intuitive and naive energy. If there's a person, this could be connected to this person that may have even been from your past. This would be, I associate this card specifically with Pisces, but it could be Cancer or Scorpio. The reason I associate with Pisces is because it's associated with gullibility, and I don't associate the other 2 water signs with gullibility, only Pisces. But it's possible that this person's sun is not in Pisces. Maybe they have another prominent planet in Pisces, but it's more of the personality traits that this person has. They could be artistic. They could be very dreamy and intuitive, innocent. And that may be the person that you have been wanting to be with. Maybe you've been wanting to be with them for a very long time, but things got in the way. In terms of business, it's kind of pointing to somebody who is going towards an intuitive art, maybe a healing art. Maybe you've always wanted to be a energy healer, and now you're doing that instead of the corporate world. But I don't think it's necessarily the corporate world. I think it's more of some kind of a mental field, like could be particularly law, but it could also be education. Okay, and so that may be you're going more into the intuitive side of life, or creativity and artist. So anyway, that's what I have for you, and I'm going to pick a couple. Well, I already did pick them. One of the oracle cards is, let me see if I can pronounce this. I was going to say Shaniqua, but it's not Shaniqua. It's Shekinah. If anyone knows, well, how can I was going to say, if anyone knows how to pronounce this, write it down below. That's really brilliant. Sacred Self, Unleash. I mean, that almost seems like, I'm trying to think if that's from the Kabbalah. Could be from the Kabbalah. Unleash your spirit, express your gifts, dance to the sacred rhythm of life. And I'm going to, pull out the booklet to kind of give a little bit more of that definition, because, that was what I was saying, express your gifts, and so I think of specifically with creativity. Okay. This thing, the Shaniqua. Okay. Shekinah? Oh, well, let me just read what it says, what it's about. The Shekinah is the twin flame of the Holy Spirit. It is the female aspect of the God particle or creation energy. She is more of an essence than a being, but has the ability to show herself in ways that we understand. So the feminine principle, the sacred feminine maybe. She is acknowledged in the sacred teachings of Judaism. Yeah, so that's Kabbalah. And also known, and also called the Sophia of Christ in the Gnostic Gospels. She is a powerful female voice of spirit who is here to bring about equality and to help the world move on from a male-only image of God. She reminds us that God is all-loving and all-accepting. Whenever she appears in a reading, she points out the change makers, the love creators, and gift sharers of the world who are here to unite all hearts around the world. An extended message: don't feel the need to hold back or dampen your spirit. This is a time to celebrate. There is a feeling of dance and joy around you at this time as you fully recognize your splendor. You are a sacred being who defies gravity every day just by being alive and brings a sense of balance and equality to the world. Oh, that's nice. Okay, and then along with that, I have another card because when I was shuffling, these both came out. So I thought, what the heck? Put them all together. White Eagle. Okay, I like Native American stuff. Ancestor spirit, connect to your lineage. A family wound or pattern can be healed now. Well, if you listen to my 2017 Sagittarius reading, that's actually true because Chiron is in the 4th house of home and family. That is the wounded healer. Okay, and then and I think Chiron is supposed to be the Sagittarian centaur. I always don't know how to say that. Centaur. So that, it's really wild because then, you also have Neptune in that 4th house as well. So, yeah, very, very true. Okay. It says connect to your lineage. A family wound or pattern can be healed now. White Eagle is a Native American shaman who is dedicated to honoring our spiritual lineage. He is a world-renowned spiritual guide who has been particularly cherished by mediums all over the world. He first spoke through a medium called Grace Cook in the early 20th century. I never heard of this. He is the guide who helps create clear channels in our bloodline and our spiritual lineage so we can access the heart of the Creator. He also helps us to move into sacred ceremony where we can hold sacred space to honor a change, transition, celebration, or anything else that deserves time. He is wonderful for clearing space, and we can call on him for help in forging spiritual connections. Take some time to honor just how far you have come, recognizing through ceremony and ritual the shifts in your awareness, healing, and journey really allows you to move into a state of grace and gratitude. You have recently had an opportunity to heal an old family wound or pattern. It's important to connect with your family in spirit so that you can set a new energy of love in place. White Eagle is bringing your ancestors through to you and allowing you to know that they are happy and well. He is sounding his sacred drums to clear your spirit. That's very nice. I think, I don't know about some of you, but as a Sagittarian, I have always felt like kind of this ambivalence about even the concept of family because I personally have always loved my freedom. And sometimes it can feel oppressive when you feel like you have this group of people that sometimes they're demanding that you conform to their traditions, to their way of life, and you have your own path to travel. And I think, fire signs are very independent and individualistic. And because the fire energy is by its very nature creative, we tend to be different. And this can, because our fourth house is an area where we may feel that sense, because it's Pisces, that can also bring things up, because Pisces tends to, bring about that sense of karma and wounds and things like that. And of course, Chiron, that is the nature of Chiron. But it's funny that they say the wounded healer, because in that pain, there is also understanding, and you can also help other people because you've been there and you've done that and you have bought the t-shirt. So that's I think that's a beautiful message, both of those cards. So I hope you enjoyed this, Sagittarius, and I wish you a great first half of January. Bye.